Today is our 1108th broadcast, but that really pales in comparison to that it is day 304 since October 7th, and as is being reported everywhere in the news, there is the worry of an anticipated major strike against Israel by Iran. We saw something like this happen in April. There was a major attack, and because of the miraculous allyship of the United States and Great Britain and Jordan, and it seems Saudi Arabia and a host of other countries, that massive attack of hundreds of ballistic missiles in April was knocked out of the sky for the most part. And this is a moment where, because of the assassinations of the political head of Hamas and the military head of Hezbollah, which were executed, we believe, though there's no official statement, by Israel, this is a moment of great worry. And what adds to the worry, and I cannot help, my friends, but start here, and my apologies. I know that we tune in for Torah and uplift, but this is also where we are as a people. And to be authentic parts of our global community, we have to start here. On this 304th day since October 7th, which is also Ariel Bibas's 5th birthday. This little boy with shocks of red hair turns 5 today. Please God, he is alive. It is also Rosh Chodesh Menachem Av, the first day of the month of Av. This day begins what in Jewish tradition is called the 9 days. The 9 days leads up to a very intense and sad day on the Jewish calendar called Tisha B'Av, the 9th day of the month of Av. On the 9th of Av, we mark the destructions of the first and second temples and other tragedies in Jewish history. And what seems clear to me is that Elie Wiesel was correct. He said that throughout Jewish history, enemies of the Jews have always chosen our sacred days on which to perpetrate attacks. And so today is Rosh Chodesh Menachem Av, the beginning of that month of Av, known also, it's very complicated for me, as Menachem Av, comforting a father, which means comforting Avinu Shebashamayim, our parent in heaven, upon such tragedies. But what I want to emphasize, and I'm working hard to feel this within me too, is that in these moments of worry, it is also true, and I wrote a poem about this, that Israelis are out at cafes, shopping, yes, also worried and reciting psalms. But here we are, as modern people, descendants of our ancestors, and we go into this month marking the tragedies of the past, containing the sadness in a period of time, because Judaism is bigger than this worry. Judaism is bigger than the sadness. No, there is a lot today. Ariel Bibas should be free. All of the hostages should be free. I do not pretend to have geopolitical insight. I just worry. And I know that as a community, we are unified in that. It was an intense time to be in Israel last week, from Monday afternoon until very late Thursday. But I got to tell you, for all of the intensity, leaving was very hard. It was a moment and a place that made sense like no other. And I offer to all of you just my eyes, because it was comforting to be in proximity, to stand on the ground with our people, even though this is not a comfortable moment, to be in a place where our families' photos, the hostages' photos, were literally everywhere. And by our family, I want to repeat something that I shared that is not news, but for some of us was new information, that we do not only count the Jewish citizens of Israel as our family. The hostages include Muslim people and Christian people, citizens of many countries. That is all Am Yisrael. For all the complexity of the identity, we have created a home with our people. And so what I want to do, friends, what I really want to do, is make sure that we know what it is to be part of this moment. Now, I was, while I was in Israel, I was blessed to be invited to be part of the daily briefing from the Times of Israel. And I would invite you to listen at least to how I shared my thoughts with them. You can find it on the Times of Israel webpage or on podcasts. But the reason why I share it with you is because it was a moment where my Israeli friend, Amanda Borshel Dan, who is the deputy editor of the Times of Israel, asked me to define the word chizuk, asked me to define the word, which sort of means strengthening, it sort of means support, but it really means when, because we're already connected, the hope that I can offer you is credible and felt. So I hope that you'll be able to find that podcast if you haven't heard it already and let it in, because it is really important for us to show up for our sisters and brothers in Israel right now. Now let me connect that, because this is what we've been doing for 1,108 mornings together, to this week's Torah portion. Now, yes, we are in a difficult period of time on our day. It's a complicated time on the Jewish calendar, these 8 days, these 9 days leading to Tisha B'Av. It is an intense day because it's Ariel Bibas's birthday. It is also the beginning of a new book of the Torah. We begin the book of Devarim, the book of Deuteronomy. We finished Numbers this past Shabbat, and so here we find ourselves just about to enter the land. And if you remember the context, Moses, of course, will not be entering with us. So we encounter all of the book of Deuteronomy until the end of the Torah through Moses' perspective. It's a retelling of the story from our ancestor, from our teacher, from our rabbi, though there was no such a thing as a rabbi during the time of the Torah. And I want you to hear the way this book of Torah begins. Eila hadvarim asher diber Moshe el kol Yisrael. These are the words that Moshe spoke to all of Israel, be'ever HaYarden, on the far side of the Jordan, which means outside of the land. Maybe this is specific to you and me, at least those of us who are outside of Medinat Yisrael right now. Bamidbar ba'arava mul suf ben paran uven tofel lavan v'chatzerot v'dizav. Locates this geographically. Outside. Achad asar yom mechorev, 11 days from Chorev, which is another word for Har Sinai, Mount Sinai. It was in the 40th year, the 11th month, on day 1 of the month. Moshe spoke to the children of Israel exactly as God had commanded him concerning them. So this is Moshe's tzavta. This is Moshe's ethical will. And what does he say? He says, Adonai Eloheinu diber eleinu bechorev lemor. God, our God, spoke to us on Mount Sinai, saying, Rav lach shevet behar hazeh. Enough standing by this mountain. Go. Go. Now, I want to say that in Hebrew again, because some of us might pick up on another time we hear these words. Rav lach shevet. Rav lachem shevet behar hazeh. Enough sitting by this mountain. When the Kabbalists in northern Israel, before the state of Israel, Eretz Yisrael, the land of Israel, gathered together, the mystics gathered in a city called Tzfat. They took all of Jewish tradition and they reformulated it through a mystical frame. And a mystical frame can be necessary when the world as we inhabit it makes less sense. Mysticism tells us there is another way, there is another world. So what did they do? They took this verse. A rabbi named Shlomo Alkabetz took this verse. Rav lachem shevet. Enough sitting by this mountain. Go home. And Rabbi Shlomo Alkabetz took it exactly, Joyce, and put it into Lechadodi, one of the most famous poems in the Jewish canon. Beautiful poem. And twisted it just a drop. Instead of Rav Lachem Shevet, speaking to the people Israel, don't sit there. Enough. Get up and go. Go home, it's calling. Shlomo Alkabetz wrote this poem to Jerusalem itself and said, Rav Lach Shevet, enough sitting, you city, personified, but I want you to hear it. Instead of enough sitting by the mountain, Rav Lach Shevet be'emek habacha, enough sitting in the valley of tears. Enough. Enough. And so even though today is what today is, friends, and I want to recite again what today is. Today is day 304 since October 7th. Today is Ariel Bibas's 5th birthday. Today is the beginning of the month of Av, which contains some sadness. For all of this, we throughout our periods of history have found strength and have decided to take the wealth of tradition that we inherit and turn it into something positive, to turn it into something hopeful, uplifting, to offer chizuk through time, strengthening through our time to our people, to our very home. Jerusalem, get up. Get up. And so in this moment, friends, we fight. In this moment of imminent attack, which it is, and we do not turn away, and we do not lose heart, we do not lose hope, we fight. Now in April, when there was an imminent attack against our people, my dear friend, the media director at Times of Israel, Sarah Tuttle Singer, reached out to me and told me that the most searched for topic in Israel, on Google, at least in Israel, was the word Psalms. Because traditionally, in moments of distress and worry, Jews recite Psalms. She said, we have to gather modern Psalms because this is a moment of need. And so she and I together published a small volume called Calling Out Psalms for Today. It's an emergency anthology. And so it is a beautiful collection of modern voices. Let me just read one. This is by Janine Elise Smith, called Seek. And with this, we are praying for our people. We are calling out today. Wading, immersed in the sea of humanity, give me your strength. Breathe life into mine. Renewed vision returns in sharper focus. I feel you near. Rescued by your love again, longing at last your beautiful gaze. Here's another one. Just see who this is by. This is by Rachel Sharansky Danziger. Now, she is a phenomenal leader and scholar and writer. She also happens to be Natan Sharansky's daughter. Red with courage. And the background, just to remind you all, is when we painted our doorways red in the ancient story of Egypt. It was to protect us. Red with courage, Rachel Sharansky Danziger. We color our doorways with courage tonight as we wait and wait. Out there, the mashchit, the destroyer, is loose and moving slowly, so very slowly. An odd pace for us who are veterans of the sudden flurry, veterans of October 7th and the world that quickly fell apart. But we are here together, protected in our homes tonight, and the doorways are red with our courage as we stand up to fear with our bodies by letting them go to sleep. Friends, I'm going to be sharing more of this. You can find it on Amazon, and I'm also going to be posting some of the poems today on my own social media feed. It's called Calling Out Psalms for Today. There are lots of ways for us to be part of Am Yisrael, but right now, we do all of them. And tomorrow, we'll do all of them. We will show up with strength, with heart, with determination, with hope. Rav Lach Shevet. Enough sitting, enough being immobilized. That is not the way. It is time for strength. It is time for chizuk, for strengthening. It is time for love. It is time for hope. So when we say Am Yisrael Chai, I'm going to ask you just to pulse your body with it, with strength. Am Yisrael Chai. We are alive and we are not going anywhere. So, take a second, take a breath, let the hope pulse, and get ready to get up. Enough sitting. It's time to move. Let's send our hearts to the east. I see Ariel Bibas's face in my mind's eye. I see all of them. I hope you do too. Send your hearts to them. Tell them how much you love them. Be strong for them. Send them strength. Kol hod balevav penima nefesh Yehudi homia ulefatei mizrach kadima ayin letzion tzofia. Od lo avda tikvateinu, hatikva bat shnot alpayim, liot am chofshi be'artzeinu, Eretz Tzion v'Yerushalayim. Liot am chofshi be'artzeinu, Eretz Tzion v'Yerushalayim. Bring them home now. Am Yisrael Chai. See you tomorrow, friends.